Again, good evening, everyone. So we will continue from last section. Okay, and tonight Luang Pi would like to explain, share with you the story of the Buddha. Okay, and then next session we will move on deeper to his teaching. Okay, as I mentioned before, that in this 30-day training, okay, we assume that all the new monks know nothing about Buddhism, and it's my job, okay, to explain, okay, everything about Buddhism, okay, by the time that we have together. And I believe you know something about the Buddha, know something about his teaching, and some of you have been practiced, according to the Buddha teaching. Okay, some of you are new to the teaching as well, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It's always good to learn something and relearn something. Okay, so it's all good. When you hear the word Buddha, what comes to your mind? You think of someone.
Just like a Buddha image.
Buddha image. Okay. For people who from non-Buddhist background, they may think of Buddha as one teacher, right? A man who exists 2,500 years ago and discovered something, okay, and later it becomes religious that people follow. Okay, that in general sense. Okay, there are two kind of major religions in the whole world. Okay, in general, in the broad sense, religion with God, okay, super or power being, with the messenger, and pass that messenger from God to humankind. Okay, and then people follow. Okay, and another set of religions, okay, believe in no God, no existence of God. Okay, the religious founder is basically a human being. Okay, Buddhism is come from this side. Okay, a man who found religious called Buddhism, okay, happened to be born 2,500 years ago in Indian time. Okay, and he has name, he has fathers, mothers, he has wife and kids, and then his life move on the spiritual quest, and he discovers something. But before we get to that, okay, the word Buddha, okay, it means awakened one, or the one who knows. The awakened one, or the one who knows. Awakened from what? And knowing what? Okay, that's something I want you to kind of moving along with me and think a little bit deeper as well. Okay, Buddha is an open title. Okay, not belong to one specific person. But for God, no one can be God. God is God. You cannot train yourself and become God one day. This is something opposite. In Buddhism, anyone can become Buddha, as long as you have good intention and then you train yourself, and then one day if you qualify yourself, then you can be called a Buddha. And there is a way to do that if you really want it to be. You can think of the Buddha as a title. You may think of the Prime Minister or Mr. President. Okay, anyone can become president if you are qualified. But to be Prime Minister or President, someone have to elect you. You cannot promote yourself to become, okay, I want to be Prime Minister. I want to be Mr. President. It doesn't work that way. But for the Buddha, you can do it yourself. That's something, opposite. What I mean by that, you can train yourself, okay, accumulate merit, perfect yourself. We call 10 perfection. Okay, that's the way to go. Once you have perfect yourself, okay, in those areas, we call 10 perfection. For example, giving, the dana, you give, okay, observing precept, morality, you will harm no one, okay, not just one lifetime, for a countless lifetime, okay. Practice wisdom, cultivate perseverance, cultivate truthfulness, cultivate loving kindness, cultivate equanimity, you name it, 10 of them, for a countless lifetime. And then once everything is fulfilled, okay, then you can be called the Buddha. That means you are awake. You awake from ignorance. You awake to the truth of the true nature of your own life, of the existence around you. Okay, there is no more secret in life. You awake and then you know. Okay, no more secret. And how long does it take for someone, let's say if you want to be one Buddha in the future? How long does it take? Okay, the shortest, okay, timing for a man, let's say you make decision today and then you want to become, one Buddha in the future, okay, it takes 20 at least, okay, 20 eon plus 100,000 kappa. Okay, there's two terms here, eon and kappa. Okay, that's the term to be called of how long of that timing. Okay, 20 eons. Eons in Pali mean it said asongkhai. Asongkhai. So don't worry about Pali. Asongkhai, it literally means asongkhai mean uncountable. You cannot count. English translate to eon. That means the time that you cannot count for 20 times. Okay, you cannot count. You don't know how long for 20 times. And then what about kappa? Okay, 100,000 kappa. Not 100 days, not 100 months, not 100 years, but we call 100,000 kappa. Okay. By the way, if you study by yourself, you may notice that someone come up with a number to calculate eon. You're talking about 10, okay, and you add 140 zero, and that's 1 eon. But according to the Pali, eon means you cannot count, uncountable. And kappa is quite interesting. You think of the cubic, okay, stone, okay, which is 16 kilometer long, 16 kilometer width, and 16 kilometer high. The gigantic, rocks. Every 100 years, not 100 human rams year. We're talking about 100 years of celestial ram.
So longer than
It's longer, okay.
a lot longer.
100 years in human rams is considered 1 day and 1 night in the second level of heaven.
Okay.
1 day up there, down here. So you're talking about 100 years of the second level of heaven time. Okay, not human realm. So every 100 years of the angel, every 100 years up there, angel will come down with the very thin cloth, just like the paper, maybe thinner than this, very thin cloth, and swipe on that stone, this stone, one time, and then go back. 100 years come back again, until this gigantic stone, okay, completely gone, eradicated. It's very long, right? Unimagined.
It's not possible.
Okay, it's very long time. Okay, the point here is for someone, number one, anyone can become a Buddha. It's not belong to anybody, any specific group of people or one person. Anyone can become a Buddha. That's an open title. And in order to be the Buddha, you need to train yourself, perfect yourself for something called the 10 perfection. And at least this is how long does it gonna take you. Unimaginable long. It's very long time for someone to become a Buddha. But it can be done. And how many Buddha happened in the past? According to the text, Buddhist text, there are countless of Buddha that have been born already. Countless, you cannot count. You think of the sand in the ocean. How many sand in the ocean? In one ocean, 2 ocean, 3 ocean, 4 ocean. That still cannot compare to the number of a person who perfect oneself and become the Buddha. Many of them. And even the moment at the second and the fourth level of heaven, there are many people, we call them Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is the title of a person who aims to be one of the Buddha in the future. So if you make decision today, you want to be the Buddha, okay, you are called Bodhisattva. And then you work your way, okay, you don't know when. You're on your journey. There are many of them up there waiting to be a Buddha in the future. Okay, many of them. The thing is, it's not easy at all. That's the idea. Okay, each Buddha, okay, they possess at least three qualities. The first one we call wisdom. The second one is purity, and the third one is compassion. Wisdom, purity, and compassion. All of them, Buddha in the past, the present Buddha, and the Buddha in the future. Okay, all of them, they possess these three qualities. The first one is wisdom. What it means by wisdom? Wisdom means, for a man to become a Buddha, that person has to be very smart. Not smart about making a living, okay, but smart about getting to know oneself. One lifetime, second lifetime, third lifetime, fourth lifetime, until a countless lifetime, to accumulate wisdom, find good teacher, okay, and learn, okay, how to perfect oneself. And this is called wisdom. Wisdom about the true knowledge of life. This is called noble wisdom. Okay, about ourselves, who we are, where we're from, okay, why we're here, where we're going after we die. Okay, so the wisdom about life, about the true nature of things. And the second quality is called purity. Okay, in order for a man to become a Buddha, that person has to be pure, physically pure. Okay? Every lifetime that you're born, you will not harm any beings. Okay, physically, including verbally as well. Okay, you will not say something bad to hurt someone's feeling. Okay, and mentally as well. Okay, you will not thinking bad toward others. Okay, your physical, verbal, and mental always pure. Okay, which is not easy at all. And the last one, compassion, means since becoming the Buddha takes such a long time, so many of Bodhisattvas sometimes they change their mind. They say, oh, I have been accumulate enough merit for me to become enlightenment as the arahantship. You can achieve arahantship and then enter nibbana. You don't need to come back and reborn again. Then your job is done. But for the Buddha, they think, oppositely. They want to move further to help others. And that is why it's called compassion. You don't have to do that, but you decided to do this because you aim to be the teacher of the world. In order for you to become a great teacher for mankind and for all beings, it takes time to accumulate wisdom. It takes time to accumulate purity, and it takes time to accumulate compassion heart, think of others. Our present Buddha, okay, his name is Siddhartha. He was born Prince Siddhattha. His family name is Gotama. He was born in the north of India. Okay, around this time, according to the history. Okay, 586 to 483 BCE, and his town in the town called Kapilapat Kingdom. In the text, the Buddha himself, he talked about his own life to the monk, and this is what he said. My city is Kapilapat. My father named King Suttotana. My mother is Queen Maya. Okay, he has father, mother. He happened to be born, in the royal family. And I live as a prince for 29 years in the palace. He has 3 palaces named Suchanna, Konutta, Konutta, and Koncha. This is the name of the palace, 3 of them, with 84,000 beautiful female servants. And my queen is Yasodhara, which is his wife, and his son named Rahula. Okay, it seems a typical family, right? Has fathers, mothers. Okay, happen to be born rich. Okay, have 3 palaces, and all the servants happen to be all female, beautiful, and there is a reason for that. And his wife named Yasodhara and his son named Rahula. Okay, he has 1 son, and he ordained at the age of 29. It took him 6 years. Okay, in that spiritual journey to discover, or we call enlightenment. It took him 6 years, and he enlightenment at the age 35. He worked hard for 45 years, and then he died at the age of 80. Okay, 1 lifetime, 2,500 years ago. A man born in the palace, okay, and he decided not to live life as a prince, as a king, so he decided to leave everything behind, okay, work on his spiritual quest, and he discovered something we call the Dhamma, and that took him 6 years. In fact, it took him 20 eon, right? To accumulate wisdom, not just 6 years. A very long time. But this year it happened to took him another 6 years to discover the Dhamma, the truth, the true nature of things, or the enlightenment. 6 years. What have you learned so far? What have you learned so far? When he was born, his father wanted him to become a king, so that he can carry on, royal family. This is normal, right? When you're born rich, you want your son to follow your path, taking care of your business. But again, before he become Prince Siddhattha in this lifetime, he have been accumulate. He have made decision a very long time back to become the future Buddha, and that is why, that his wisdom telling him that this is not the life he wanted. He wanted to become the teacher of the world. He wanted to become, the Buddha. So all the Brahmin, come and gave prediction to the king that this young baby, will become either the emperor or the king of the world, or become the great spiritual leader. Most of them say that. But only one Brahmin, this is the youngest one, his name is Anyakontanya. I want to mention this name because we will meet him again when we learn about Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first teaching of the Buddha. And he said, he gave one prediction. This newborn baby will become the future Buddha. He will not live life as a prince, he will not live life as a king. He will ordain himself and become the Buddha. And that got the king scared. The king got scared. The father, he didn't like that. So he did his best to keep the young boy, in the luxurious princely life by building 3 palaces, winter, summer, and rainy season. 3 palaces with all beautiful women. Kept the young prince there. Let him enjoy. So he will forget that he wants to become the Buddha. That's what the father did. And in that 16 years, he has been kept in the palace. And he got married at the age of 16. He met Prince Jasothara and got married at the age of 16, and they have one kid. They have one son called Rahula at the age of 29. But during that 29 years, before he make decision to ordain himself, this is the story that has been told to all Buddhists, that the prince have experienced something called the 4 sight, the 4 signal. The first one, he saw old people. Second one, he saw 6 people. And the third one, he saw dead. And the last one, he saw ascetic. And that's what I learned in high school as well. The prince saw, one day the prince escaped the palace, and he saw old people, 6 people, and dead people, and ascetic. This is not just one time. He sneaked out of the palace, and he noticing this is the life outside the palace is not beautiful as the life that he lived. But in fact, Prince Siddhattha is a smart person. During that 29 years in the palace, I believe he already know that people get old. He meet his father also get old, right? His mom also died. So he know that. It's not just like, he was so naive. He lived in the palace 16 years and don't know anything about the outside world. That's not the case. He know, he's smart. And he has been accumulating information. Pondering about nature of life. Why my father getting old? Why my mom died? Old and death always, phenomenon. And he noticed that. But he couldn't figure out why. This is keep bothering him. Why people get old, why people get sick, and why people die. And one day I myself have to die too. One day my father will be dead too. And by keep on pondering and thinking about this over and over, it keep bothering him. He no longer enjoy his princely life. And he couldn't figure out why. He wants to know why. What caused that suffering? We call it suffering. And in fact, the technical term we call dukkha, which is usually translated to suffering. We call dukkha. Dukkha has a deep meaning than just suffering. We'll get to that when we learn about the first noble truth. and he didn't know why. Okay, one day, okay, he was sitting, okay, by himself, thinking about this. Actually, before that, he approached his father before that. Dad, this thing bothering me. I don't want to continue, life in the palace. I want to become an ascetic. I want to go out. I want to live life as an ascetic. I want to search for the meaning of life. But father did not agree and did not allow him to, to do that. So, he still have to figure it out. And one day he was sitting alone, and all of a sudden one of the soldiers ran to him, okay, and gave him the news. Okay, oh my lord, you just have a newborn son. You just have a newborn son. In that particular moment, okay, the prince got to the point to understand what caused illness and death. One puzzle missing, and now he found the answer. And that answer is because of birth. Now his son is just born because of birth. That's why people get old, people get sick, and people die. In that particular moment, is something like he was, somehow things come together. He got the answer. He is happy as a father to know that he has a son. At the same time, he got his question answer, the reason why life is so suffering. So that's why he say the word Rahula. Rahula means bondage. Rahula, this is the name of his son. And then the soldier ran back to the king and said, well, the prince said Rahula. So that means maybe the prince want to name his son Rahula, which is the bondage. Okay, and that's that the story told. And that night he decided, this is the night I have to leave. Okay, in the middle of the night he walked to the bedroom. Okay, he looked at his wife and the newborn son, which is still asleep, sleeping in the bed. Okay, he was sitting there and look at them. Okay, I believe if we can go into his mind in that moment, I think there was a war going on. Okay, between live and don't live, go and no go. Okay, wife, kid is there, newborn son. You shouldn't go. You have 1,000 of reasons to stay. But he decided, no, I have to go. Okay, it's not because he doesn't love them, and because he loved them so much, that's why he needs to sacrifice. Okay, so he decided to leave. Okay, so he left the palace with his servant named Channa. Okay, Channa with the one horse, Kandaka horse. Okay, so they left. Okay, and then they arrived at the Anomanati river. This is where he cut his hair. Okay, and make decision that I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm going to become, I'm going to follow my heart. Okay, and search for the answer, something that keep bothering him for many years, the life in the palace. And that's the story. Okay, why this person, okay, named Siddhartha, not happy or no longer enjoy life in the palace, decided to leave everything behind and went out searching. If you read the story by yourself, you may feel like this is maybe sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay? You have good life, your son just born, your wife is there, and why you left them. Okay, but if you study deeper, a previous lifetime, okay, many lifetime before this person born in this lifetime, he has made a determination to become the future Buddha. Okay, determination, accumulate wisdom. Okay, and a lot of sacrification until he get here in this lifetime. This is the last lifetime that he born. There's no more birth after this. And that is why when at the age of 29, okay, things start come to play in the right moment. So he decided, now it's time for me to go. His calling telling him to leave. So he left, and then from that moment on, okay, his life is no longer be the same. He cannot go back to the palace. Okay, he decided to become an ascetic. There was no monks back then. Okay, we call those people who search for spiritual developments or spiritual liberation. We call them an ascetic. So he left, and after his enlightenment, again he shared the story, okay, to the monks why he left the palace. What exactly that he looking for? What exactly that he looking for? I cannot find the story that tell us like this, that he left the palace because, okay, he noticed old people, sick people, and dead people, and aesthetic. There is no such thing mentioned in the Buddhist text. But this is it. This is what mentioned in the text and explained by himself. The actual reason why he wants to become a monk. The actual reason why he leave everything behind. Okay, as you know, he have been accumulating worry and suffering in his mind, and he don't know how to do with it. And when he get to the point that he can no longer stay, and this is the reason. He said, later on, okay, while I still young, with black hair, endowed with blessing youth, okay, life in the palace, so wonderful, a prime life, perfect life, young, good looking, okay, wife and kids. My mother, father wish otherwise. They swept with tearful face because mom and dad didn't want him to leave the palace, didn't want him to become a Buddha. So I shaved off my hair, my beard, and put on the yellow robes and went forth from home life to homelessness. And why? Having gone forth, I in search for something called kusala. What is kusala mean? In Thai we call kuson. Kusala translate to wholesome or goodness. I'm looking for something called kusala, something that can free my mind from all the questions that I have. He didn't know what to call, he didn't know what it was, but he called it kusala. Seeking for supreme state of mind, the sublime peace. Okay, because life in the palace, he cannot find peace. With all the material thing that he has, he cannot find peace in his mind. He can no longer enjoy what he has. So he has to leave to find something, peaceful. But he didn't know what it was. So he called it kusala. So he left the palace and then, went on searching. And he's searching. Okay, after he left, the first thing he did was to locate the teacher. See, you cannot succeed on your own. You need to get help from someone else. So back then, okay, in that Indian time, there were two great well-known meditation teachers. Okay, the first one is called Alandaka Dabot, Alandaka Aesthetic, and the second one is called Uddaka Aesthetic. Okay, two of them, they're well-known, they're good, teacher, a lot of students. So the Buddha, the Prince, we can call him, this Bodhisattva, Prince Siddhattha, seek for knowledge from these two teachers. Okay, he studied meditation from them, okay, and learn all of the knowledge from these two teachers. And the two teachers said, well, please don't go, help me to teach new students. But the prince said, no, I cannot find the answer for what has been bothering me from all the knowledge that I have learned from you. Still not enough. Okay, and the text says he already achieved the 8th level of jhana, which is the advanced meditation. 4 plus 4, rupa jhana and arupa jhana, form and formless jhana. He was able to do something special like super knowledge, a divine eye, divine ear, those kind of things. But he still couldn't figure out why his mind is not at peace. He was not able to answer the question to himself of why we born, why we get old, why we get sick, and why we die. That thing keep bothering him. So he decided to stop learning from these two teachers and went on his own search, his own practice. And back then there were two kind of practices that very common for people who are on the spiritual search. The first one we call Kama Sukhalika Nuyoga, which is allow yourself to enjoy, overindulge in sense pleasure, hoping that one day someone or some power, super being, will understand and show you the way out. Or perhaps you may get bored of that sense pleasure life, and then you enlightenment. That's one notion. And another notion, you have to torture yourself, self-mortification. Okay, there are two ways. You torture yourself long enough, okay, and then you may be pleased by God or someone that powerful than you, and then you become enlightenment, you become fully liberated. There's two ideas. The Buddha tried both. Come on, he was born prince. He knows how sensual, how sense pleasure is, how happy of the sense pleasure. He has everything that a man wanted to have. But on this side, he never tried. So he start practice self-mortification by the support of the 5 aesthetic, which is Panchavakhi, and one of them, okay, is Anya Konthanya. When Anya Konthanya gave prediction to the newborn baby, so right then, after he left the palace, okay, he invite another 4 friends. Okay, guys, let's go. Buddha has born now. Let's go and practice meditation and waiting for him. And one day we will listen to his enlightenment, his teaching. So now let's go. They left the palace and got themselves practice meditation in the deep forest. And now the prince come. Okay, so they support the prince and teach the prince to towards self-mortification. So the prince did a lot of things that beyond what normal human being can do. He tortured oneself. So he slowly eat less and less and less up until the level of 1 grain of rice, and then no rice. He explained in the text, when he touched his stomach, he feel his spine. You see how thin he was. When he touched his stomach, he can feel his spine so thin. Okay, he sleep when it's hot underneath the sun. He set up the fire. Okay, and sit nearby the fire to torture himself. And when it's cold, let's say it's snow, so he be naked and sit in front and in open space, stay in the snow. Torture oneself. This is the belief that people practice. Very, very extreme. This is something very extreme. Okay, during that 6 years that he tortured himself, he couldn't reach any peaceful in his mind. He couldn't success. So he recalled when he was 7 years old, he meditated one time in the palace while watching his father, okay, on the plucking ceremony, agriculture ceremony. He sit underneath the tree and he meditated. 7 years old, he meditated, and he was able to achieve. Okay, the text talks about the jhana. He achieved the jhana when he was 7 years old, which is jhana means the advanced level of meditation, and he feel peace, he feel good. Okay, something extraordinary happened in his meditation when he was 7 years old. This is, to me, there's no surprise. He has been accumulating meditation practice for a countless lifetime. Okay, and he realized that by torture myself, okay, it may not take me anywhere, so I better stop doing this. I have done what beyond any man can do already by torture myself like this. So he stopped doing that. He start eating, he's taking shower, he start take good care of his body to regain his physical strength, and then he meditate on his own. Okay, so those 5 ascetics left him because they feel like the prince betrayed him. We will no longer support you. You will not success. You will not become the Buddha. So say goodbye. So they left. Okay, so the story ends here, and the Buddha alone now. He by himself, and he meditated. And then the story goes on that he become enlightenment on his own, and later on he go find them and teach them these 5 ascetics. Okay, which is the story. We will talk about this when we talk about the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. He shared with the monk. Okay, this is something to me quite profound. Okay, when he reflect on his prince life after he become a Buddha, this story he shared with the monk, because before my enlightenment, Bhikkhu mean monks. Before my enlightenment, I myself, as a prince, as a man, I was born. I'm getting old. I'm getting sick, and eventually I will die as well. I have gone through all sorrow, sadness. Okay. At the same time, okay, myself subject to that phenomenon, I also looking for something that in the same phenomenon. Okay, wife, kids, material thing, which is falling to in the same. Okay, this kind of phenomenon: birth, aging, death, sickness. Okay, we all born, we get old, we get sick, and eventually we die. And why is that? Why? He asked himself, why? Being myself subject to those kind of things, why do I seek for what also subject to the same thing? Okay, this is how smart people think. He understands what he has been observing, the true nature of life. For someone who can understand the nature of life, that life is suffering, to me, this is a very profound. This person must have a very keen sense of observation that he can observe. All of us, we have seen, someone die, We just went to the funeral yesterday. Every day people die, every day people born, and we also experience sickness, sadness, but we learn nothing from this, what happened to us in our daily routine. But for the prince, no. He said this must have a reason, and I want to free myself from this kind of suffering. So having understood that the danger in what is subject to birth, aging and death, I seek for something opposite. Okay, look at this keyword carefully. He seek for something opposite. He seek for something unaging, something deathless, something sorrowless, supreme security from bondage, which is ultimate peace. And that technical term is called Nibbana. Now he know what it called. He called Nibbana. But back then in the palace he didn't know. He called it Kusala. He called it Kusala. Think deeper for this reason. Okay, why someone want to break free of this cycle? Because people born, people die. This is normal, right? Why don't you bother yourself to think of this as a problem and want to fix it? And that is why one of the character of someone who wants to become the Buddha is wisdom. Okay, you have to be smart to look at life in the deeper dimension than ordinary people. This is something we never thought of. Have you ever thought of yourself or reflect on your own life that, okay, I see people born, I see people sick, I see people die, and there must be a way out. Can we stop this process? Can we stop this cycle? And that's how those bodhisattvas, or those who aim for Buddhahood in the future, that's how they think. And that's how they think. They're looking for something unborn, okay, and deathless, and supreme peace, the peace that sustainable peace. It's sustaining peace, or we call supreme peace, and that thing is called Nibbana. To me, this is amazing. I never thought of that. But here, at this moment, I want you to understand that Buddha is an open title. Anyone can become a Buddha. Okay, and there is a way for someone like us. If you really want to, there is a way for us to become one of the Buddha in the future. Okay, to train yourself, develop yourself according to precept, morality, concentration, and wisdom. Okay, accumulate 10 perfection or 10 balami. Okay, for a countless lifetime, you can become one of the Buddha. And once you get to that level, that means, okay, you have success. Okay, the highest level that a man can be to achieve Nibbana. Okay, once you get to that level, that means you achieve something called unaging, deathless. Deathless means what? There's no more birth. When there is no birth, when you can stop birth, there's no sickness, no death. Okay, to me this is very deep. How can we stop birth? That's the question, and that's the question I want you to think tonight. And then we will explore together how the Buddha discovered to stop this process, to stop birth. If you can stop birth, that means if we die this lifetime and if we not come back, we don't have to go through this kind of suffering no more. Born, aging, sickness, and die. And this is a routine suffering. There are also some temporary suffering as well. You stay with someone you don't like, you want something and you don't get it, this is also suffering. Okay, heartbroken, loss in business, okay, having cancer, something like this. This is also considered suffering. But once, if you can stop that, nothing like this can happening to you no more. The question is how. Any questions so far about life of the Buddha?